This is part 31, and in this part we intend to discuss with two offences as far as offences affecting the human body is concerned, namely section 339 of the Indian Penal Code, which defines the offence of wrongful restraint, and section 340 of the Indian Penal Code, which defines the offence of wrongful confinement. Now, in order to understand the relationship, if we start reading section 339, it says, whoever voluntarily obstructs any person so as to prevent that person from proceeding in any direction in which that person has right to proceed is said wrongfully to restrain that person. This is as far as wrongful restraint, which is defined by section 339 is concerned. And then if you start reading section 340, it says, whoever wrongfully restrains any person in such a manner as to prevent that person from proceeding beyond certain circumscribing limits is said wrongfully to confine that person. So here I mean, by merely reading the definition, you can understand the distinction, or you can understand the relationship between wrongful confinement and wrongful restraint. What is wrongful confinement? Wrongful confinement is an aggravated form of wrongful restraint. Definition of wrongful confinement is inclusive of definition of wrongful restraint. In order to know the offence of wrongful confinement, first of all, it is necessary for you to know the offence of wrongful restraint. As we dealt, in order to know the offence of culpable homicide amounting to murder, you must know the offence of culpable homicide. In other words, though it is nowhere mentioned in the Indian Penal Code, during course of time it is very important for you to know wrongful confinement is a major offence and wrongful restraint is a minor offence when you compare wrongful confinement with that of wrongful restraint accordingly. With this now, these are the offences where there is no harm caused to the body of an individual, but the act is done in such a manner which deprives a person of his personal liberty. For example, Mr. A wanted to go by road. That was a public way. Because mind well, in case, exception, what is the exception to section 339? The obstruction of a private way over a land or water which a person in good faith believes himself to have a lawful right to obstruct is not an offence within the meaning of this section. So whatever you do with respect to private way, there you cannot enter anybody's property and say, well, it's your right, certainly not accordingly. As far as the ones you deal with the traffic rules also where there is no entry, you can't say that, well, I want to enter, because that has been regulated accordingly. But otherwise, if it is a public way, if you have got right to proceed in a particular direction, A has the right to proceed in a particular direction, and then what Mr. B does? B stands in front of him and tells him, I won't allow you to proceed. That is one thing. Or he says, don't go by this road, otherwise I will attack you. Or he constructs a wall so that it is not possible for him to proceed. These are the cases where it can be said that what A has done, A wanted to go, but B has not allowed Mr. A to proceed in a particular direction in which he has right to proceed, and hence Mr. B has committed the offence of wrongful restraint as far as section 339 is concerned. Now, what is the state of the mind, namely the mens rea, which is required to constitute offence of wrongful restraint as defined by section 339? It says, whoever voluntarily obstructs any person so as to prevent that person from proceeding in any direction in which that person has right to proceed is said wrongfully to restrain that person. And this is the time for you to understand voluntarily explains the state of the mind of an individual. So whoever voluntarily obstructs means what? In order to understand what do you mean by voluntarily, you have to refer to section 39 of the, you have to go back to general explanations. And then if you read section 39, then it is you understand how the term voluntarily has been defined, and it says a person is said to cause an effect voluntarily when he causes it by means whereby he intended to cause it, or by means which at the time of employing those means he knew or had reason to be likely to cause it. So this is as far as section 39 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. In order to understand section 39, it's also necessary for you to understand what do you mean by reason to believe, for which you have to refer to section 26. A person is said to have reason to believe a thing if he has got sufficient cause to believe that thing, but not otherwise, with which you have dealt so far during course of our lectures, no doubt about it. But this is just refreshing your memory. So now there are ways and means in which you stop a person from proceeding in a particular direction. Somebody is coming on vehicle, and you put stones across the road in such a manner that it's not possible for him to take away the vehicle. Now you can't say, well, you can walk but you can't take your vehicle. I mean, that if he has got right to proceed in a particular direction, if you obstruct him. But mind well, in case of wrongful restraint, there is not a total restraint, there is a partial restraint. In other words, the person is not allowed to proceed in a particular direction in which he has right to proceed. Imagine a situation where you have a hall, and or a room to which there are two doors, front doors and the rear door. I mean, if A has got right to go out by any door, and then Mr. B has bolted one door from outside, as a result of which Mr. A can't go by that door. What Mr. B has done? B has committed the offence of wrongful restraint as defined by section 339. Now, in order to understand this term voluntarily, I mean, because of the illustration, it will be very clear. Imagine a situation where Mr. B is having a bungalow on the road, and what Mr. B has done? B has tied his ferocious dog with the help of the chain to the gate of the bungalow, and the length of the chain is equal to that of the width of the road, and he has tied a ferocious dog like bulldog. Mr. A wanted to go by that road. As Mr. A started going by that road, dog started coming into his direction, and it was possible for the dog to move from one end of the road to another end of the road. What Mr. B was doing? Mr. B was enjoying sound sleep in his bedroom. But then, in such a case, mind well, now he may not intend. If you stand and if you say, when I won't allow you to go. If you will go, I will kill you. He constructs a building. He starts digging the road, as the result of which he cannot pass. He has put stones on the road in such a manner so that it is not possible for him. There are various ways and means in which you can obstruct a person. And then, now this is that, or you allow your vehicle to stand on the road in such a manner as a result of which the other person, for example, B has allowed his vehicle to stand on the road in such a manner so A can't proceed. This is exactly what Mr. B has done. He has voluntarily obstructed. So what do you mean by voluntarily? One, when the act is done with the intention, it can be said that it is done voluntarily. Secondly, he may not, Mr. B, who is enjoying a sound sleep in his bedroom, as far as his bungalow is concerned, may not have intention. But now, the means which are employed, when you know the consequences because of the means that are employed by you, when you allow your dog to move from this end of the road to that end of the road, and when the dog is ferocious dog, nobody will dare, even though A wants to proceed, he won't dare. And that is exactly, a person is said to cause an effect voluntarily, whereby he intended to cause it, or by means which at the time of employing those means he knew or had reason to believe to be likely to cause it. So here he has got reason to believe, he has got knowledge that, well, by tying my dog, it may not be possible for one who wants to proceed in a particular direction, and whoever voluntarily obstructs, it's not a particular person, any person can be obstructed. So he has obstructed anybody passing by that road, and hence his liability is for the offence of wrongful restraint as defined by section 339. So you don't allow a person to proceed in a particular direction in which he has right to proceed, constitutes liability for the offence of wrongful restraint as far as section 339 is concerned. Now, what happens? What happens when there is what is known as a total restraint? For example, Mr. A is in the room and Mr. B has bolted both the doors from outside. So, from that point, he can go to the wall in all the directions. But it's not, so what? One direction he stops, second direction he stops, third direction he stops. So it's a sort of a total restraint. And what Mr. B has done, section 340 says, whoever wrongfully restrains, so he wrongfully restrained in one direction, how? In such a manner as to prevent that person from proceeding beyond certain circumscribing limits, is said to wrongfully confine that person. So when there is a total restraint, when he is not allowed, he is restrained in such a manner so that he is not allowed to go beyond certain circumscribing limits, that amounts to the offence of wrongful confinement as far as section 340 is concerned. Somebody is sitting in the chair and you don't allow, you tell him that, well, if you will get up, I will kill you. He can't get up. So this is circumscribing limit. If somebody is in the room, you tell him, don't come outside the room, otherwise I will attack you. He won't come outside the room. When somebody is in the building, you say, don't come out of the building. That man with gun are outside the building and they will immediately fire into your direction. So it's not possible. The man can move in the building, but he cannot come outside the building. For certain circumscribing limit, there is no limit as such. So it can be by compelling a person to sit on a particular chair, particular bench. You ask a person not to come out of the room. You ask a person not to come out of the building. You ask a person not to come out of the campus. You don't allow him, and that constitutes. So this, what is this? Wrongful confinement. If it is by not allowing a person to go beyond certain circumscribing limit, then it is a total restraint. And it's in case of wrongful restraint, it is a partial restraint. The person is not allowed to proceed in one direction in which he has. For example, when A is going by road, Mr. B said, don't go in this direction, go anywhere. So he can take about turn. It's possible for him to reach his destination by resorting to some other way. Yes, by all means. But as he has got right to proceed in the particular direction, if he is not allowed to proceed in that particular direction, that constitutes liability as far as section 339 is concerned, where if he is not allowed to go beyond certain circumscribing limit, where there is a total restraint, as in a case when the person is locked in a room. That also, this is a wrongful confinement. When you lock somebody in the room, that amounts to offence of wrongful confinement defined by section 340 of the Indian Penal Code. So now, this is right from section 341 up to section 348 of the Indian Penal Code are the sections which deal with punishment. And this punishment depends upon what? The punishment depends upon, as you read the heading itself, you will come to know, punishment depends upon what is the duration and what is the purpose will determine the quantum of the punishment that can be inflicted by the court of law. So here, if it happens now that in the past, I might have given illustration. If not, let me repeat it again. Mr. A climbs a roof with the help of the ladder. So where is he now? With the help of the ladder, he is on the roof. And what Mr. B has done? B has quietly, when A is on the top of the roof, Mr. B quietly takes away the ladder. What is liability of Mr. B? Now, how it is possible for you to answer this? First of all, you must be in a position to find out whether it is possible for Mr. A to come down from the roof by any other way. For example, he might have, when he ascends with the help of the ladder, he has got every right to descend with the help of the ladder, no doubt about it. But by taking away ladder, whether there is any other way whereby it is possible for him to come down. If there may be some other staircase which may be available at the backside, no doubt about it, just possible. So, but then what is his right? If there is some other way because of which it is possible for him to come down, then in that case we said that amounts to the offence of wrongful restraint defined by section 339 of the Indian Penal Code. But if there is no way whereby it is possible for him to come down from the particular roof, then he has to be over the roof only, from one end of the roof to another end of the roof, and then this is what is, he will start from one point, go to some other part, come back again. So go to some other part, come back again. He may proceed in all the directions, no doubt about it, but ultimately it is not possible for him to go beyond certain circumscribing limits. And when there is a wrongful restraint, so that a person is not allowed to go beyond certain circumscribing limits, that constitutes liability as far as the offence of wrongful confinement, which is defined by section 340 of the Indian Penal Code. Now, at the time when we will be discussing general exceptions like section 76 or section 79, where we shall be dealing with what do you mean by mistake of fact as a defense, we will have a reference to this. If a police officer has no right to arrest a person and he has arrested a person, liability of the police officer may be for the offence of wrongful confinement as defined by section 340 of the Indian Penal Code. But then if the case falls, so arrest is a confinement. But what is arrest? It is a lawful confinement. Why it is lawful confinement? Because it is not wrongful confinement. When we will deal with section 76, we will understand, even if there is a mistake of fact because of which he has taken a person, I mean, he is protected provided he has acted in good faith as defined by section 52 of the Indian Penal Code, with which we shall be dealing. So this is the relationship when this is with respect to personal liberty. When I am sitting in this room, I have got every right to go when I want to go. And if you don't, if there are two doors with the help of which it is possible for me to go out, I mean, you can't say that go by this door only. I have got right to go by any door. And if you bolt that door because of which it is not possible for me to proceed in a particular direction in which I have right to proceed, wrongful restraint. If you bolt both the doors from outside, then I mean the time factor as far as the wrongful restraint and wrongful confinement is immaterial as far as the criminal liability is concerned, but that is concerned as far as the quantum of the punishment that can be inflicted by the court of law is concerned. So this is the relation. Whenever you want to, whenever you want to know what is wrongful confinement, by merely section 340, it may not be possible for you. It's not possible for you to understand what do you mean by wrongful confinement, because for that it is necessary for you to know wrongful restraint, which is defined by section 339 of the Indian Penal Code. It is this, and with this now, what is wrongful confinement? Wrongful confinement is an aggravated form of wrongful restraint as defined by section 339 of the Indian Penal Code. With this now, as you proceed further, section 341 defines lays down punishment for wrongful restraint. Section 342 lays down punishment for wrongful confinement. Section 343 says wrongful confinement for 3 or more days. So the punishment also varies accordingly. Section 344, wrongful confinement for 10 or more days. Section 345, wrongful confinement of a person for whose liberation writ has been issued. When the writ of habeas corpus has been issued, and these various writs with which you shall be dealing as far as the constitutional law is concerned, where the person has been wrongfully confined and a direction is given by issuing a writ of habeas corpus, and then wrongful confinement of a person for whose liberation writ has been issued, section 345 lays down the punishment. Section 346, wrongful confinement in cigarette. Section 347, wrongful confinement to extort property or constraint to illegal act. Section 340 lays down the punishment as far as wrongful confinement to extort confession or compel restoration of property as far as section 348 is concerned. So these are the sections which deal with punishment, but the two sections, namely section 339 and the illustration, if you read, which is given at the and as far as which is given as far as this section is concerned, he said A obstructs a path along which Z has a right to pass. A, not believing in good faith that he has a right to stop the path, Z is thereby prevented from passing. A wrongfully restrains Z. And then if you read the illustrations which are given as far as section 340 is concerned, it says A causes Z to go within a walled space and locks Z in. Z is thus prevented from proceeding in any direction beyond certain circumscribing line of the wall. A wrongfully confines Z. Or A places men with firearms at the outlet of a building and tells Z that they will fire at Z if Z attempts to leave the building. A wrongfully confines Mr. Z. And this is exactly the two offences, namely section 339, which defines the offence of wrongful restraint, where the person is not allowed to proceed in a particular direction in which he has right to proceed, whereas wrongful confinement is where somebody commits the offence of wrongful restraint in such a manner as to prevent a person from proceeding beyond certain circumscribing limits, amounts to the offence of wrongful confinement as far as section 340 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. With this now, we intend to proceed with the next topic, and once we want to deal with next topic, namely if somebody has asked you a general question or you want to know what is an assault. Now, in order to know assault, which is an offence that is defined by section 351 of the Indian Penal Code, but during course of our lecture you will understand, in order to understand the offence of assault, which is defined by section 351 of the Indian Penal Code, you must know the offence of criminal force, which is defined by section 349 of the Indian Penal Code. Section 350 of the Indian Penal Code. And in order to know what do you mean by criminal force, you must know what do you mean by force. And in order to know when it can be said that one person has used force with respect to another person, you have to read section 349. So section 349 defines force. When it can be said that one person has used force with respect to another person, which is not at all an offence as defined by section 349. A force becomes an offence provided it is a criminal force as defined by section 350, and then section 351 defines the offence of what do you mean by assault. Right from section 352 up to section 358 are the sections which deal with punishment. So this is the next part as far as this chapter is concerned, namely offences affecting the human body is concerned, with which we will continue our discussion as far as next part of our lecture is concerned.